I'm Jessica, and this is Kevin. We are two stroke survivors that wanted to come together to help provide additional resources for other people who may be going through the same things that we did years ago. And we are chronic stroke survivors. So I am 3 years out, and Kevin is about 11 years out, I think, from his stroke. I had a hemorrhagic stroke due to moya moya on the right side of my brain, which meant my left side is affected. So I am a left hemiplegic still to this day and continue to work through recovery and physical therapy on a weekly basis. So we'll get started. Kevin, take it away.
Yeah, hey, hello everyone, and thanks again for joining our Stroke Reality podcast. As just mentioned, the two of us are survivors. We've come together and met a few years ago when I ran a couple of events in the US for stroke survivors. I got to meet Jess and her mom, and we became good friends from the experience. And we talked a lot about our situation, and we thought I've been doing a lot of work advocating, as is Jess. And one of the things we thought we'd bring together is there are many podcasts out there, and we're glad they're out there. And we're just giving another side of the story, trying to help people navigate through their future with stroke and how they're going to manage. And today's topic, we've talked about a lot of different things. Today we're going to talk about a little bit about mental health. Now, mental health, as everyone knows, became a real rampant thing in COVID because people were going through a lot of loneliness, situational, got more time to think. As a stroke survivor, we have a lot of time to think. I remember lying in the hospital bed, and I can probably attest for Jess, lying in a hospital bed, looking up at a ceiling for days on end is not fun. And it does give you a lot of time to reflect back on, what you're going through, and holy crap, here we are. And I know I did that, and you have to make peace with yourself as well. But you do think a lot about what goes on. You think a lot when I was in a wheelchair for 30 days, and sitting in a wheelchair surrounded by hospital walls and a bed and not near my family or my friends gives you a lot of time to reflect back. Well, how am I going to get better? So mental health, we want to look at it. There's so many different aspects to it. I think the number one thing for all stroke survivors is frustration. Now we're frustrated because of one thing and one thing only. Our body is not the same anymore. It has completely changed. Jess has gone through a lot more trauma than I have in the physical aspect, cognitive aspect as well. For me personally, I only really had the physical. I still have a little bit with drop foot, and my left arm is still a little bit has a lot of scar tissuing, so I don't have the range of motion that I used to have. I had to give up a lot of sports. I played sports year round, even at my age now. I wanted to keep playing. I felt I keep playing till at least 70, but unfortunately, I had to retire from ice hockey and baseball because baseball is too dangerous, getting line balls at you. And hockey, I just had to relearn to skate again, and I just couldn't do what I used to do. So, that frustration was part of it, but the frustration of knowing that maybe I could have prevented this. Stroke is, I call it the silent assassin. You don't really know when it's going to happen. You don't even know you're going to have a stroke. 9 times out of 10, most people have to go through different. I think Jess, you went through minor operation, and through that, you things happen to you. For me, is I just didn't feel good on Christmas Eve. Went to the hospital, and they found a clot. So I had the basic stuff. I didn't get the needle that you can get prior, so you can prevent the clot or make the clot disappear. So I fortunately only the physical aspect of stroke, not the cognitive, no speech, nothing like that. And for me, I'm very lucky. So the getting back into a better place was easier for me because I just had to work out and deal with things that way. And so my frustration was short term compared to, I still see people in my support groups with March of Dimes, and, they are going through a frustration. They're going through, you have to develop an attitude because, again, you have to be strong personally. We talked about support groups in our last few podcasts, and that's a big part of our, getting better. So having all that makes it, you make you really think about, I guess you have to look at the positive and the negative. And I know a lot of people just look at the negative, and that's, and I understand that. There's nothing wrong with that because I think, Jess will get into her situation, and acceptance is still a piece that really takes a long time because you don't want to accept. You don't have, I look at it, you kind of have to accept it, but you don't have to like it, is where I'm at with my life right now because, yeah, there are a lot of things I wish I could still do, and I can't. I still play some sports like golf, and I was a lot better golfers, and now I'm not as good. And that, kind of changed up. I blame old age now, but it's not the reason. I just don't have the balance and swing that I used to have. So, how about you, Jess? I mean, you've gone through a lot. You're sort of still new to this, 3 years. You've had to go through a lot of the different changes. What sort of mental health issues have you dealt with? How have you overcome them, to become better?
That is a loaded question, Kevin.
Hmm.
Um, similar to you, when I had my stroke, it was a holiday. It was New Year's Day of 2023. So right after Christmas. And just a reminder, I'm in the United States in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and Kevin is in Toronto, Canada. So a lot of what we talk about may be specific to the region that we're in. And if you have any questions from that, please feel free to reach out at our contact information provided below. And getting back to, the frustrations and the mental fuckery that happens with stroke recovery. I was in the hospital and found out that, my entire left side was paralyzed. I didn't believe it at first, and I forced people to bicep curl my leg and my left arm just to prove how heavy it was. And lo and behold, it wasn't heavy. It was just my brain disconnected from my limbs. But it took a long time. I'm still, like Kevin said, I'm still working through the acceptance of the entire situation. And thankfully, I've been surrounded by really strong people and a great support system, like we talked about in our last podcast. And every day I wake up, it's a new day. I take a deep breath, thankful I'm alive and just count my blessings, with my of everything that's great around me. I try to find joy and happiness in everything I do every day. Because there were some really dark times post hospital and post stroke when I got home, trying to relive my normal life again. It just wasn't going to happen. I couldn't cook the same way. I couldn't pet or hold my dog the same way. And I couldn't work out. I was a very active person. I was a professional that rode my bicycle into work every day. Um, I worked out, I ran as part of a, tension relief for myself. So I've had to search for new ways to just clear my head and learn a different way to find joy and be happy. And thankfully I finally feel I'm at that point where I'm getting more of that mental clarity and finding joy. So it takes a lot of work. Stroke recovery sucks, but God doesn't give us anything we cannot handle, and that's what I firmly believe. So I turned to my faith a little bit more and reconnected with God in a different way, and reconnected with my friends and my family and leaned on them significantly to really get through the dark times that really frustrated me. Screaming out loud, either in your house or in the woods, just to release that tension has really helped me. Although a little concerning because when I screamed out loud in my house, nobody heard me or came to check on me. So that was a little
Except
concerning.
the dog.
The dog was, well, my dog's deaf. He's 15 years old. But I was okay. Just screaming for tension relief. But the frustrations are definitely there. This year, though, we've mentioned, I think in the past, I've started to, we both have started to set goals for ourselves, whether that be physical goals or cognitive goals. Like Kevin said, I suffered more cognitive deficits. My executive functioning skills really got hit hard, which means that, simple tasks such as navigating, a GPS system or, finding my way around a block. Uh, I needed to put in or to plug in Google Maps for, directions back to my childhood home when I took a walk visiting my parents because I couldn't navigate where I was. So simple things like that, unfortunately, hit me hard and affected my professional life. And so that obviously added to frustrations for me and trying to navigate my new purpose in life, now that I'm not working and, so and speech also was affected too. So we all have frustrations and that's something it's okay. We, we harbor them and, hold on to them and it's not gonna last forever, at least knock on wood. That's what I think.
Yeah, I can imagine. Jess and I are a lot different in age, so she's still just starting life and going through, her life and that, and I get it. There's a lot of things that you're gonna think about, you're gonna look at, and I can attest in my meeting with Jess 2 years ago, in 2020, no, sorry, April 2023, we met in New York, and I can tell you, Jess is a different person then than now, and in a positive way. She's really grown. I can tell the cognitive part has really
My
settled in.
hair has grown.
Yes, that too. The cognitive part she mentioned earlier is her ability to, to think and to put things, wording together or just have conversations. The
Mhm.
blank stare is not there. I think there's a lot of changes, and she's worked hard to get there. So, I want people to understand it wasn't like she just magically changed. She had to get to where she did because you got to work hard. And that's
Mhm.
part of the frustration because we worked so hard at one point to get to where we are. Like she said, she worked out a lot and did a lot of things. So she's quite content with the body in terms of where it was. And now for all stroke survivors, your body just gets completely broken down and you have to rebuild it again. And I know for me, it was like I never went to a gym before. I was kind of a guy that just played sports all the time. Might not look it, but you just do that. And I wasn't a gym guy. I was not a guy that wanted to work out. My workout was going to, out and playing the game instead of, practicing and all that. And I'm still like that, but going to the gym, I know during COVID and just after COVID, I really put in a lot of time and effort to build up strength. So I attest that I work with trainers, massage therapists. So, part of the frustration that we went through, part of my mental health was teaching myself to get better. And you only can do it for yourself. And we want to do it for our families, yes, because, they counted on us in the past. They love us, but they still love us for who we are now. Even though our body's gone through magnificent changes. Um, so the big positive, you have to just try to be positive about your whole experience. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It is not. I mean, I still talk to people that don't, can't stand it, and I get it. And
Mhm.
I don't judge them for it, and I don't question it because everybody in general, like you look at life in general, it's all about, image. And image is, whether you're normal or not normal, it's just, it is what it is.
What
But you
is
gotta
normal
believe.
anyway?
Yeah, yeah, we weren't normal, both of us anyway. So, you have to kind of look at that. I think, and that's the whole piece of it. My defining moment was probably the second day lying in bed, knowing that, like Jess, I have religious faith and all that. I had my moment with God. I'm not saying you have to be religious, and it's not part of the prerequisite. It's you talk to whoever you want to. Talk to a preacher, you talk to the man upstairs, you talk to whoever you want to, and that's going to help you get through the whole situation. I think your family sees it. Everyone tries to, I guess, tries to coddle us and make us feel better, which is great. But at the same time, it's what we don't want because in normal life, when we're pre-stroke, we weren't
Mhm.
coddled. We were just kind of, I can imagine your partner Jessica didn't baby you, and I definitely know my wife didn't.
No.
So, and there's a big learning curve again, and that's the scary part is learning to readjust. There's a guy that I have in my group, and he calls himself 2.0, and that's kind of what we are. You're going from 1.0, which is what you were pre-stroke. After stroke, you're now a new person. So it's a bionic man, bionic woman, whatever you want. And I think you just have to take the attitude of what you want to do out of all this. And I just, look at all of you guys out there and I just hope that you try to stay positive, and then the attitude is, look, I'm going to try to get better, make the most of the situation. I know
Mhm.
for Jess and I've become more of an advocate the last two years. I'm working with Heart and Stroke, working with March of Dimes. I've done a couple of events. There's still more on my plate. I've written a book that I need to get published. Jess has written a book which is published. So those are the things that, as individuals you have to go through. I gotta ask you, Jess, as you go through now, you're now into year 3, 4. What sort of, what kind of plans do you have for yourself as you move forward? Recovery is every day, it'll never end, but there is a limitation of where you were gonna recover to. But what do you
Yeah,
think, what's next for you in terms of, moving forward and trying to, as you said, accept the whole concept of, you've got a
right.
stroke and move forward.
Yeah. And given there is no limitation to what I can recover to.
Yeah.
I've it's taken me 3 years to believe that. So that has been a huge shift in my mindset. It is mind over matter in this, in this journey. But what I look forward to next is, or what I have begun to enjoy doing is really take a look at who I am now and what I want to be, and really start that reinvention cycle having fun with reinventing myself and thinking of what I want to do next. So my goals for the summer are to ride my bicycle again, and I'm going to do it no matter what. I'll wear a helmet, knee pads, and everything just in case, but I will ride a bike. I'm also exploring returning back to school, and potentially exploring, a law career if, if that goes well. So that is exciting, and I'm looking forward to that. I've officially applied to 2 law schools here in the Pittsburgh area, and I'm looking forward to getting the response. Fingers crossed, say your prayers. Um, so
I'm
reinventing
sure you will.
myself, yeah, so reinventing myself is really the sole focus of what next for me. Setting those physical goals that are, smart, uh, they're achievable, they're measurable. So I'm looking forward to that. I've been working with a personal trainer, and I still see a physical therapist to work on setting those goals and reaching those goals. So I do
Yeah.
have support, which is great. And, my mental health and mental shift has been a complete 180 from day one, day two, even 6 months ago. I have more mental clarity, like I said, and I'm really excited about pursuing the new me.
Yeah, that's good. And I totally agree. I think even for myself, you get into a funk. But every day you need to set a goal. Even if it's just taking 10 steps or lifting your arm or doing whatever, because every time you reach a goal, it only makes you more, makes you more stronger, makes you more positive about the experience. I'm going to be real. The experience is not fun. It's challenging, but life is a challenge, and you go through tests in life. And Jess has had tests in her faith, had tests in her own self, your self-esteem. All these things are going to be part of the frustration, the anxiety that you're going to go through. But each time you can accomplish a goal more and more. I feel that people, even the people, I mean, my support groups on a weekly basis, I find every time they seem better because they come to the group and every week they take something back with them. So one of the things I suggest you do, and I mentioned kind of in the other group, in the other podcast, is join a support group. And if
Mhm.
you're still, having a lot of anxiety, see a professional. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't make you weaker. You need to feel yourself. It's like food. You need some kind of food to feed you to make you stronger. So if a professional is going to be like, milk, and you drink it and you take in the information, it can only make you a better person. And I feel that if people can continue to do that, you're going to grow, and you're going to grow better and stronger. I think the people that can fall into that funk, part of it is, you're carrying the negativity, and I get it. As I said, it's part of it. It's how much of it you can let go of, piece by piece. You got to break down those walls and break down the small pieces and bring in the positivity. I'm sure you look around you, and if you got great support, they're trying to be positive, but it's hard because, they can only do so much. And I can attest for both of us that if our partners were with us and they didn't see us trying to get better, I think they'd be frustrated too, and they probably want to give up on us. Though I know my wife wouldn't, and I know your partner wouldn't, but it's part of how they look at it. If you're going to give up, it's like, why am I putting all this effort in? So, you got to do it for yourself. Everything about recovery is your own self-esteem, building yourself up. It doesn't matter if you broke your leg, if you had a stroke, you had a
Mhm.
heart attack. Recovery is recovery. And, we can lump all the different ailments in, and, you only get better if you want to get better.
Right.
And I'm not sitting here, and Jessica's not sitting here to preach that. We're just saying this is how we've gotten to the point we are with our own selves. We still have recovery to go. I still have things I'm working on. Part of now I'm advocating and want to advocate for a better stroke recovery in this world globally. And I'm not looking at just in Canada or US. The global ambition is still out there, and hopefully you hear about me in years to come because that's the ambitious goal to look at things. As we go through things and we get close to wrapping up, what else for you, Jess, in terms of, we look at the new you, and I guess what's one of the big things you've taken away from the stroke experience?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, it has been mind over matter. So you got to keep your mind strong and your mental health strong in order to continue through the journey of recovery, whatever recovery it may be, or whatever reinvention you may be going through. The other thing that has been significant has been perspective. I enjoy the little things a lot more. I've been able to really think about, living in the moment and being present because you never know when that's going to be taken away. So that has been something that really hit home for me post stroke and getting home from the hospital. So I
Yeah,
really encourage everybody to really soak in the little things, the people that want to come and support you, be appreciative, as well as, don't overthink things. That's been another thing. The stroke, really enhanced my anxiety and depression. And one of the things with my anxiety is I would overthink certain aspects of my life, due to the limitations that I have now. So asking for help, not overthinking, really, every morning I take a look at a motivational quote. I ask Alexa about the weather and then to tell me, something positive to help get my day started. So my perspective has changed. My overall, mind strength, mental health has changed. Um, so that's, yeah, I've really put a more, a heavier focus on me and what my body needs. And I've let go of the toxicity and negative energy, like Kevin mentioned earlier.
that's
Yeah,
good.
I'm moving in a positive direction. And,
Yeah.
surrounding ourselves with the support group and finding other survivors that can empathize with what we are going through has been such a game changer. I know one thing I'm doing again is going back to that summit in New York to meet and network with other survivors in April too. So that I always look forward to.
Yeah, good for you. And that's with my partner, my old partner Maddie, and she and her and I put those ones, and she's continuing to do it. I'm trying to do them in Canada, and she's still doing hers in New York and Alabama last year. So I'm happy that she's continued. She's got a big presence in the stroke community, and I support her 100% that she continues to want to advocate for that. And that's what this is all about. We're a community. It's not a community you want to be part of, but we have been brought into.
Yeah.
I agree with Jess. Part of it is just keeping positivity, as I said earlier. And I think, big takeaway for me is just seeing the people and meeting new friends. I've met some really incredible people like Jess, And the one thing that no one can take away from us, we're in a community of our own. Unless you're a
Mhm.
stroke survivor, this is not a community you want to join or can be part of. You can be an outsider looking in. The lived experience is going to be something that I always suggest people talk to other people. I found in my support group, even though I stayed away from for 8.5 years, I've learned so much in the last 2.5 years about myself, about people, and just seeing how strong people are, how they've taken a bad situation. And my favorite line every morning when people say, how are you today? I said, I'm alive. And people kind of look at me like I'm like, what are you talking about? But it's all about that. And it's working towards those things. So you just got to continue to push forward, and that's my favorite line: push forward. Little steps. You don't have to make big steps, big accomplishments today. It's just one day at a time. You get up and you're just trying to make every day better, more better, or even better. More better doesn't sound like good English, but I'll blame the stroke. It is, you just want to get better every day. Set those small goals and try to move forward. And I guess the irony of our whole life is going to be we have a brain injury, but it is our brain that needs to control how we're going to get better and how we're going to get through the frustrations and anxieties. And, that's all part of it. So we're going to wrap this all up. And, we want to thank you people who are listening about mental health. We hope we answered some of the thought processes we go through. As maybe a caregiver, there is a lot that goes through our mind. And, the person you're caring for is going through the same thing. So hopefully you can kind of get in there and, slowly figure out what's going on, what makes them tick, what's not making them tick. And, as soon as you can get some of those answers, just help them to get to the next level. Like Jess and I have been helped by our significant others and our families in life. Any last words, Jess, on mental health?
Just be kind to yourself, be kind to your mind. It's working overtime as we all travel through this recovery journey together. And if you have any questions for us, DM us, send a message. We are happy to read them and respond to them.
Yep. And we will answer any questions that we see as they come aboard on all our social media. Okay, we look forward to
Mhm.
speaking to you guys again soon. Thank you for
Yep,
being part of our half hour and listening to our story. And we look forward to talking more about stroke recovery in the next few podcasts. I'm
yep.
Kevin. This is my partner Jess. Thanks again, and
All
we'll look
right,
forward to talking to you guys real soon. Take
sounds
care.
good. See you.